Hey folks, I'm on vacation. So I am just jumping on, no schedule, no shout outs, no nothing. Oh, I am going to do a shout out on Twitter, but I'm just going to check my signal here real quick, make sure I'm on Twitter, okay. But I'm just going to check my I sure am. So I'm just going to drop on Twitter that I'm live right now, and we'll just see if anyone catches signal on that. If anyone swings by, that's awesome. If not, no problem. Best way to support the channel is to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to support more shenanigans in the future. This is the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document that we've been creating. It's a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons supplement that will publish on the DMsGuild as soon as it's done. Check in the description down below to see a number of links to go to other things that I've created that are published on the DMsGuild for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. If you click into any of those, if you check them out, there's about 150 different illustrations that I produced between the covers and all the interior artwork and graphics and stuff. So check that stuff out if you're an art enthusiast. If you're a D&D enthusiast, if you think that stuff is cool, consider making a purchase. If you go into each individual product page, underneath the book cover will be like this big on the page, right? Underneath it, it's going to say full preview as a link, and then on mobile phones over here, it has an eye icon. So you either click the eye icon or the full preview link. Either one of them will open up a PDF that you can read the entire document cover to cover as you wish. And again, if you think the stuff is cool, consider making a purchase to support it. Otherwise, support the channel with a like and subscribe and bell icon to encourage more behavior like this. Right now, what we're doing is we're doing page layouts. So I'm going to be working on the Eberron adventure later on this evening. We'll be doing more village cartography for that in about a little less than 4 hours from now. But I have the week off, so I'm just trying to make sure I can keep pushing this Spelljammer project ahead so I can clear it from my plate to make room for the Eberron adventure when it slides into completion. So we've been built. I can actually change the format of this when we get to it. There's space here enough for me to actually curve around in here. I had to rearrange the text on here because I wanted to flesh out a conversation about astral space a little bit more. We're traveling the astral sea. We're talking about reducing the amount of time it takes to travel from one location to another in the astral sea by how familiar with it you are. The more familiar you are, the less days it takes to arrive there. So that begged the question, how do you get familiar with something? And I wanted to flesh out details on that just a little bit more about the level of familiarity depending on the amount of time that you spend at a location. Oh, that's astral tracking. Hold on, wrong page. Here we go. Gaining familiarity, right. So the familiarity you have is the amount of you're positive along the rim. This is yes, this is entering a wild space system. How far away from the actual destination you had in mind inside of the system, like a particular planet. The more familiar, like if I'm going to fly back to my home world, I'm very familiar with my home world. It's my home. So I'm going to be able to land there. I'm going to be able to drop from astral space much closer to it than if I'm visiting a system I've never seen before. That's just something completely new. I'm just going to run into the end of the system and then ease my way into the system space, and then hex crawl around inside of it to see what cool planets there are there. But if I'm going back to my home world, then when I'm going through astral space, not only am I going to hit the edge of my own crystal sphere, but I can land, I can basically like teleport in from astral space into a location much further into wild space than just the edge of the system. It's going to be a long haul for me to fly out of the system from like wherever my planet is to the outer rim. Like in Toril, it's like a 3 billion mile radius system. So to go from Toril to the astral sea, it's basically a 30-day flight out of the system, then into the astral sea, whatever time frame it takes for you to arrive there. So, but getting in, if you roll a natural 20 on your piloting check, you could land literally in orbit of Toril from astral in one motion. So it takes 0 time for you to get there. Or if you like roll a natural 1, even though you're familiar with the system, you land outside of it, like within 100 million miles. So now you gotta, crawl your way to there through the astral sea into the system from the very edge. And then depending on what your familiarity with the system is, changes the DC that you have. And like if I've seen a location casually before, like if I've visited Collier for a few days, then it would be a DC 25 for me to jump into the system in orbit with Collier. And if I fail, I end up being D8 times 100 million miles away from that location, which is basically I end up in the system a week away from where Collier is, in the direction of the DM's choice roll, a D8. So that's basically how that entering the wild space system is. So gaining familiarity is how much time are you spending at the location. Like if it's a description, you've literally spent no time there. You have no reference. If you've been there once, that's viewed once. So it like takes 1 day. Days spent. That is the actual phrase that I'm looking for. Hold on, I want to make that. We're doing page layouts right now, so this is what I do. So I'm looking over the mechanics of the stuff that we had, and I'm making sure that the words and letters and stuff all fit pretty on the page with it. That's page layout. So the more time you spend at a location exploring, meaning actually occupying the space of the area that you're trying to become familiar with. So if I spend just 1 day there, then I've viewed it once. If I've spent 10 days there, then I've seen it casually for a while. If I've spent 100 or more days there, I'm very familiar with it. That's actually like being there. And if you spend that time, you automatically gain that level of familiarity. But if you research something, this is the amount of days it takes to research a depth of knowledge to be able to fake this level of familiarity. Notice you can't have a very familiar, a very familiar degree of familiarity. God, that's clumsy. With a location unless you actually go there. But you can read about it, or you can ask questions of sages, or talk to people that have been there, or contact other players and ask you're asking secondhand about this information, so you can at best reach a level of seeing casually. Which again, if you're looking at the DCs here, that makes the number that you have to roll to be able to land places far easier than if you aren't familiar with them. So you're motivated to gain this familiarity. Travel time in the astral sea. If I'm very familiar with a location like Collier in the Forgotten Realms realm space, if I'm very familiar with Toril, it only takes me a few days to get back to Toril from wherever I was, which makes West March campaigns a lot more palatable in D&D, because if you always have a return space, it's like, okay, well, it only takes you 2 days or even 1 day to return back to Collier, make your piloting check. You make your piloting check, you're very familiar with the location. It's only a DC 22, say you're 5th level, and you get your bard giving you inspiration, and you've got your artificer on your team giving you a stroke of insight. Then you could potentially only have to roll like a 6 or a 7 to get that very familiar number. And if you fail, then you end up within D6 days. The name could say, yeah, you land within, you appear in realm space a day away from Toril, and you've successfully gained back into orbit with no incidents. Next time we play again will be next week or whatever, but you can always yeet out of some place and get back home a lot faster. So building a base of operation becomes something like really, really useful. Or building a network of different locations that you specifically go to gain familiarity is a fun excuse to have downtime while you make a magic item or something, or you're researching spells or something. You can be researching locations, creating networks and connections with people. So we wanted to build that out, and it took an entire column. So we ended up having to shift all the other content back here a half page. So this used to be on the left-hand side of the page. Now that it's on the right-hand side, I see that the muse was guiding us the entire time, because now I get to make a larger map wedge. I can have this curve up this way, and then get cut off over here, like I can fade it out artistically. So there's some cool stuff that we get to do with these things, man. I fucking love circles. This stuff is so cool. And here's a walking pattern that we built for you, because it's like basically every at this scale. This is a 50 million mile scale. So this is once we get the buttons on here, but this will be identified as Toril. which is 200 million miles away. So each of these squares is 50 million miles. So 5, 10, 15, 20 million, 200 million miles away. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 per quarter. That's 24 squares to orbit around the sun. So that means that each one of these squares is 15 days, approximately. So 15 days, 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 15 days. Similarly, Collier is this, there's a Nadia and then there's Collier. Collier is occupying what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it has a 6-month cycle time because each one of these squares is 15 days. So you're cycling these planets around at 15 days. 15 days, 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 15 days. It ends up being a half year, while this is a full year, and this is every 15 days to orbit this, right? So it's 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. It's 9. It's 105 days. Basically one season for Anata to be able to completely orbit the sun. While it's half a year for Collier, it's a full year on the money for Tyrell, where Forgotten Realms setting takes place. And you got Carpri, which is at the 300 million mile square, and again, each one of these squares is 15 feet worth of movement. So, and you can do a quarter by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 32 of these inside of a year. So it's roughly, each square is basically 10 days per square. So that's how you can pace out the rotation of a campaign, a system in your campaign, without having to sweat the details. It's like, have you been there for 15 days? Yeah, we have. Okay, great. Well, let's move everybody. You know, let's move everybody a tick. So I'm sorry, it's 15 times 32. That's 32, 15. What is that? Okay, so about 16 months to be able to make its way around in this outer system here. And then that's all the outer planes. But then that is represented here in this little central area here. These are 200 million mile squares. So this central circle here is this entire map here. So, because this is 200 million miles. Anyway, so that's how that system stuff works. So it just happens to work out that we get to redraw this map, or add on to this map the rest of this section and flesh that out to have a more use of this space. I think that was a really cool, happy accident. Here's spaces for us to do diagrams of planets and moons moving around in orbit. And then we have conversation about spherical gravity and moving through the atmosphere at high speeds. So this immediately, basically, retro translates how to do airships for Eberron and other steampunk campaigns. All you gotta do is set a maximum speed that the things can move, which is probably going to be like, say, I think Eberron is anywhere from 1 to 10 miles per hour is basically your clip speed. So yeah, pretty easy to translate. If you make 10 miles per hour your top speed, that's 240 miles per day. It's pretty easy to translate. So I can all just break down. So yeah, we could do a 10-page tear out of this book and just do airships from Eberron and be able to have it completely translate into the system with virtually no hang time. And then we could also retrofit this system to the Infernal War Machine mechanics that we built this from. This graduated from the Infernal War Machine mechanics. Now we're retrograding, we're retrofitting the system onto the Infernal War Machine system, so I could do a 10-page Infernal War Machine Mad Max combat caravan convoy sort of thing as a fun little adventure tear out for people that are into Descent into Avernus. But then we've built out all of the ship hazards for fires and how to extinguish them, the ability check, group checks that you're making, foul and deadly air, blending air envelopes, creature air envelopes exhausting, infestations. This is all the stuff that we did over the weekend. Built this out, and there's space down here for some infestation artwork. There's some space here for foul air. There is a big space up here for fire, how fire moves. and how that builds, and we can build some cool little artwork down here in the corner of a ship on fire. That'll be fun to do. God, fires are bad news in Spelljammer, man. They're just bad news. Morale and mutiny, how those mechanics work, and here's a nice large chunk of space that we can use to build out some mutiny artwork. And here's our wild storms, and a little spot here for an example of a wild storm. And then now we are officially into the creatures menagerie. So that's actually what we're working on right now. I should be setting a timer. I got about 40 minutes I'm going to put into this, and then I'm going to go offline and get some work done, and then I'll be back on in about 3.5 hours to do Eberron cartography. So I'll put out a general alert to everybody on the channels and stuff as usual that's going on. But if you've caught wind of this, congratulations. Thanks for showing up and hanging out with us. We are looking at the Creature Menagerie, which is a translation of Boo's Menagerie using the scaling combat mechanics that we've created into this book. And we've already done a preliminary layout of this. There's space here for each of the creatures. There's the Cosmic Horror that we'll need to figure out. Probably need to make an adjustment here for that, but we have plenty. Ooh, ouch. Yeah, it looks like we have some fixing we need to do. I think that took care of. Nope, still eating up too much space. We're gonna have to fix some of this. So let's get cracking. Unusual nature, and you can certainly read along with this if you want. If you make your screen full size or whatever, you can pause on here at any point just to look at the mechanics that we're working with, because I'm going to be futzing with them and trying to bend them around so that they fit on the page. But if you're interested with how we're handling creatures with these unusual scales and movement speeds, this is the work. So many of the creatures detailed in Boo's Astral Menagerie, BAM, are native to wild space. Additional abilities for these creatures to hunt and migrate between worlds are provided below. Yeah. So, unusual natures. Generally, creatures with... Wait, is that a 16-point font? That's 20. Generally, creatures with fly and swim speeds and the unusual nature feature can exist in wild space and gain the following additional features. Distant senses. The creatures can sense any creature small or larger up to 100,000 miles away. The creature can sense objects 1 mile or larger up to 10 million miles away. The creature can sense objects 100 miles or larger up to 1 billion miles away. So basically, unusual creatures gets the same sensory range as an orrery does. Let's see. Creature can sense other creatures small or larger up to 100 million miles away. The way I want to do this is, right now I'm using an asterisk, but I'm going to go into the 3. I'm going to go into the system. I'm going to see if there's a cool font I can use to replace those. Like an ASC2 character that might be cool to use instead of an asterisk. I'll go through the entire document and swap them all out. There. That's how I make these things justify. Inset justification like that. So like if we had like an arrow key, or hell, I might even be able to create my own little character font. We'll see what's out there, but we're gonna swap out these asterisks into something a little more, something cooler. Anyway, stay tuned, we'll find out what that is. Let's see, distant senses, creatures with unusual natures have heightened senses while traveling between worlds in the astral sea. There. Let's see. Movement creatures with flying swim speeds can hover in wild space and can move or stop. hover in wild space and in wild space and the astral sea, comma, and can move or stop as their statistics indicate at the 5-foot scale. Gravity wakes. Creatures that travel in wild space can willingly enter the space of a larger, fast-moving object to ride its gravity plane when encountered. Remaining in a gravity plane this way is considered a light activity. Creatures with a flying speed, swimming speed, or abilities such as gliding. A creature can remain in a gravity wake while taking a short rest. Also, creatures can travel the... I have to read through all this because I don't have... I may be breaking up the text like into these different little blocks. I break up text a lot like that just to make it more palatable to digest the ideas as we switch from mechanic to mechanic by making a new paragraph or even a line break for each mechanic. Like aspects of a mechanic that are new ideas, like separate ideas, but still within the same general principle that we're talking about, like a gravity wake will have an indent paragraph that's still within the same block of text that we're talking about, but like a new idea altogether that is a separate thought from the current topic of conversation will break into its own group of text. So we already looked at gravity wakes. Now we're looking at far travel, so you'll see that here. It's like this is talking about gravity wakes, right? And this is talking about that you can enter gravity, you can ride other objects or creatures gravity wakes. And then this talks about how that gravity wake, riding that gravity wake works. So this is a subsection of working this idea. Like it's more specific information, but a separate topic within the larger topic. While this here in far travel, I suspect we're going to see a change in subject down here. And if not, we'll assess if it should be its own space or not. So, wild space creatures can travel the astral sea and between worlds at various distances per day, as detailed in the following descriptions. When creatures scale to 50-foot or larger square maps, these creatures can move 5 squares during their turn and can use their action to dash, moving an additional 5 squares. At the 50-foot or larger scale. Your individual movement at the 5-foot scale, you might have like an 80-foot movement speed at the 5-foot scale. Once you start, if you have the ability to scale up to larger scales of movement, like 50-foot, 500-foot, 5,000 miles, whatever per round, it breaks down to the magnitude math that we use, where movement is 5 squares, not 6. And if you take the dash action, with a movement, it can be another 5 squares. So if you eat up most of your action economy for the round, you can move 10 squares at these heightened speeds. So as long as you're not hitting your max speed, 1,000 miles per square, then you can pretty much have it like haste, for instance, can give you additional movement speed at the scale that you're working at. But once you get to 1,000 miles square, you can't break 10 squares per round because your maximum speed per round is 10,000 miles per round. So once you get up to that speed, you can't break that speed limit. Anyway, otherwise you can add on additional squares of movement, with the base being 5 per movement for any ship that has the ability to scale a movement beyond 5 feet, which is all ships. So, as well as some of these creatures, which is why we're addressing it here. Right now, I'm just assessing this is the best way to have said it. So, wild space creatures can travel the astral sea and between worlds at various distances per day as detailed in the following descriptions. When increasing scale to 50 feet or larger, when increasing the scale of, that's what I should do, when increasing the scale of movement to 50 foot or larger squares, period, comma, anyway. We didn't need maps there. When increasing the scale of movement to 50 foot or larger squares, there you go. These creatures can move 5 squares during their turn and can use the action to dash, moving an additional 5 squares. Creatures risk, this is a completely separate thought. So creatures risk inertia shocks similar to pilots when changing scale more than 1 magnitude each round. but they roll with advantage due to their unusual natures. So we talk about inertia shock. If you change your scale of movement too fast, it's basically you're pulling G's. So we call it inertia shock. You can smoothly go from 5 to 50 to 500 feet at one magnitude per round while you're moving. But if you push it more than that, your pilot's going to make a Constitution saving throw, and if he fails the saving throw, he basically overturns the engine, or the engine stalls. And then everybody on board the ship gets scuttled. So everyone gets thrown off, either by popping too fast and throwing everyone out of their seat back, or by hitting the brakes too hard, too fast, and brake checks your entire ship and floods your engine for a round until you can regain your composure and regain focus to get the ship going again. So in combat, inertia is a big risk, because if your ship stalls out, you're basically dead in the water, and everyone gets scuttled. If your crew gets scuttled, they can't be firing a weapon until you right them. So there's a big threat to be able to have your ship get inertia shocked. So unless you're a really strong or crazy pilot, then you're going to smoothly curve up in momentum from 5 feet to 50, 500, 1 mile, 10 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles, and then that's your maximum speed. Those 7 grades of momentum that you can escalate through. And we talked about inertia shock maybe like 6 episodes ago, so go check that out. Maybe it was like 3 design streams ago. Layouts. It was in layouts. Anyway, it's out there. So that's your inertia shock. That's the end of that section. Now we're on to each individual creature. So let's build out the proper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. So it doesn't require air to survive. You also see it doesn't require food or drink either. Okay, so different creatures have different immunities and stuff depending on which kind of creature it is. But these unusual nature, that's generally something that falls into the unusual natures category. But these unusual natures are universal no matter what. So the type of perception can change. Is that the right size? Yeah, it is. I'm just not used to being zoomed in this much. So yeah, we're just processing stuff. So let's see if we can get through this. So these creatures average 100 feet in size. The following revisions assume the horror occupies a 2x2 space. Occupies a 2x2 space at the 50-foot scale. Otherwise, use the stats from BAM. So 50-foot scale, basically they're 100 feet in size. That means that they occupy a 2x2 space at the 50-foot scale. They're basically the same size as a damselfly ship. So, oh, damselfly. Let's here's a damselfly, 50-foot scale, 2x2. This is about as big as a cosmic horror is. Your character would be like the size of my magnifying glass, essentially. Yeah, 1. Yeah, this would literally be, at this scale, what is this? 155%. The size of my magnifying glass is literally a 5-foot square. See these ballistas are 10 by 10 spaces, 2x2 squares at the 5-foot scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. This Magnanel is also a large size, 10 by 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's perfect. And these things, each of these mounted weapons are a 5 by 5 space. So it's just a touch off. It's a touch small, but it's pretty damn close. Anyway, this is about how big a cosmic horror is. And we did that cosmic horror illustration that I don't have open right now. Anyway, we'll get to it soon enough. As a bonus action, a cosmic horror can take the disengage action or scuttle a ship. And then should probably have spacing like that. Spacing. The following revisions. Oof. Yeah, that's shit. Shit. I might have to change the formatting here. I have to figure out how to format this stuff. This is all accurate. Living ship, 2x2, can be grappled by up to 2 tentacles. Each tentacle requires a separate action to escape. Until the grapple ends, the horror can't use the tentacle. This, honestly, this is a lot of reiterating mechanics that are actually up in the grappling section. Maybe I don't need these. 100-foot reach. Wow, get fucked. I mean, just flat out, just get screwed. That's horrible. Let's see. The target hit 130. Piercing siege damage. So we know how to treat siege damage. Tentacle, melee, weapon attack, plus 14 to hit, reach. The horror can grapple objects and creatures up to 500 feet in size. We already know that the size of grappling. Let's check the grappling mechanics up in weapons to verify that they correspond with the mechanics there for us to simply say see tentacle siege weapon above for grappling. Grappling, ram, ranged. Only ships that are capable of grappling within reach of the target can contribute to a grappling attack. Furthermore, the target size limits the number of ships that can simultaneously grapple, as detailed in the grappling weapon section above. Oh, am I in fleets? Yeah, I'm in squadrons and fleets. My bad. Let's go up to special munition, ranged weapons, siege weapons, firing and reloading. There we go. Siege tentacle. As ship, crew, damage, reach, damage, special. Hits a target smaller than itself. See, siege tentacle. Siege tentacle grappling weapon. Siege tentacle grappling weapon. In the siege weapons section above. For additional details. Period. There we go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Thank God for well-defined, consistent mechanics. Link. So when we finalize this, we'll create hyperlinks to all the different sections of the book that are self-referencing throughout the document. And there's a lot of them. So it's useful to be able to hyperlink all that stuff back and forth. Also, having an index will probably be really useful too. It's added work, but there's a lot of new mechanics. I mean, we're basically having to rewrite combat, spell casting, and adventuring sections of the player's handbook and the DMG to make this stuff work. So it's a hell of a heavy lift. Good news is that obviously I've got the mechanical chops now for me to be able to actually develop this sort of stuff into a game system, which is that's great news, because if I actually do eventually create my own system, this is a great skill to acquire. And I would use very similar mechanics to this because they're freaking awesome. But okay, great. So that resolved that. Hey, timely timer. I got another 20 minutes. But this is basically what I'm doing today. So this is my day. Crushes a creature or object that is grappling. Must make a DC 22 Constitution, taking 60 force damage for each tentacle grappling the target on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. Teleport, cost 2 actions. Crushing tentacles. Do I need to space and... That widow there is a shame. If I can just get rid of that. Teleport. How can I fix that? Taking 60 force siege damage for each. The horror crushes a creature or object that's grappling. The grappled target must make a DC 22 saving throw, Constitution saving throw, taking 60 points of force damage for each tentacle grappling. This target on a failed save, or half as much on a successful. Why couldn't I? Yeah. What can I do about you? The horror crushes a creature or object. The horror crushes a creature or object is grappling. The grappled target, must make force siege damage for each tentacle. For each tentacle grappling the target. That's really proper. That's really properly written. Fuck, I don't want to fuck with it. As a bonus action, a cosmic horror can take the disengage action or scuttle a ship. As a reaction, a cosmic horror can... the following revisions assume... Let's see. Two by two square. Yeah, I can't. I was trying to see if I wanted to integrate this as bonus action language, and I was looking to see how I could word that better. I know there's a better way of wording that. Hold on. as noted. I'm looking for as noted otherwise language. Ships is what I need. Yeah, I know there's stuff in ships. I know the language I'm looking for is in ships. Ships are considered creatures except for in the following ways. Except in the following ways. That's the language we're looking for. Except in the following ways. The following revisions assume the horror occupies a 2x2 square space at the 50-foot scale, period. Use the stats provided. Use the stats from except in the following ways. Following that's what it is. Use the stats from BAM with the following considerations. That's the language I was looking for. Thank you. That's from Descent into Avernus. And I think, still not there. I like how it reads better though. As a reaction, a cosmic horror can pace a ship. Can pace. Pace the target. Or make an opportunity attack. Did that pull it off? We did it. We did it. Freaking nice. What is this? What is this trash? Huh. These are all 14s, right? Oh, that's 12? Interesting. Huh. Really? All 12s, huh? I feel like these could be 14s. Let's make them 14s. This is a 16. Yep, he's 16. So, shit. That means we do like this. Font 16 has a 5 font gap. I think that should probably be. Fuck. Nope. Still got a problem. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you, formatting. Oh my god, this is the worst. These creatures average 100 feet in size. The following revisions assume the horror occupies. Nope. Okay, that worked. That worked. All right. Whew, dilly. Well, we'll be doing this for the next X hours. But the good news is that that's how far into the book we are now. We're on page 73 right now, chums. And as you can see, most of the formatting is already resolved. I'll have to fret over some stuff for sure, but the heavy lifting is done. So I got to figure out how to get cosmic horror on the page. I can make the token is in no way going to fit on this page as is. Unless I start bending far travel around, like if I cut this out and dropped it down here so I had this square space here, I could then put the cosmic horror into that spot. But fuck all, that's ugly. Let's see how this thing paces out. So we got 1 here, 2, so we could definitely have stuff on the page here. Then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, really? We might be able to make this thing work. Unusual nature versus okay, I think we can make this. I think we can do something with this. Let's oh my god, that's so perfect. We'll just put that, we'll put that. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, we'll put this guy here. So we got about a half page here that's open. So we'll put this piece in there. That's really over the top, but it's fucking gorgeous. So we got to put it in there somewhere. Either that or at the top of the page, maybe. Maybe we do like that instead. So have this nice splash page back here. That's fun. It's inconsistent with everything else that we've done, but fuck it, you know? That's where we're at right now. Good. That to there, and that to there, to there. Wait for this thing to finish zooming in. Anytime now, me bucko. Thank you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why is a how? God damn it, dude. That is the wrong direction. Let's That's I am going in the wrong direction. Cheers. My God, what a cool book. This thing is just, I'm proud of it. I love this book. There's that, and it looks like we are here. There we go. Horror, that's fine. Aesthetic will be okay. Kandori, that's sitting pretty. Lunar Dragon sits pretty. Megapede. So we got illustrations here. Kandori got illustration here. Lunar Dragon, we got an illustration here. Megapede illustration here. Murder Comet here. Scaver. Space Guppy. Scavers and Space Guppies we could probably fit together here. Oh, that's what I was trying to do. That's right. Unusual Beast mounts. And then we wanted to get this guy onto the right page. Save. Too far. Cool. So when I finish processing this, that's 1 page, 2 page, 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4 page. So 3 or 4 pages is where we're at right now for us to finish up this section. And then we drop into the random system generator. And I anticipate having that finished. Four pages. That then takes us into the appendix of converting Light of Xeraxis. And we get into the last 25 page kick here and get into the meat and potatoes of actually converting this stuff. Man, I'm excited, guys. This thing's really moving along. Really, really moving along. All right, it's 4 o'clock now. I'm going to go ahead and log out. I'm going to be back in 3 hours for Eberron cartography. So if this stuff is interesting to you, like and subscribe. Be welcome to follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney, Filkearney, like in my name. Check out some of the different books and stuff that I've created down in the description down below to see how I approach other concepts and ideas inside of the 5e game space through Dungeons & Dragons. And I am looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys here in 3 hours. So I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.